rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. I'm trying to get myself centered here. I always screw myself up whenever I do that. Anyway, I hope everybody had a great weekend. I kind of did. I mean, it was obviously the anniversary weekend for better half and I. And we were able to enjoy time together. Let's just put it that way. You take it however you want. Anyway, well, apparently when you write things down in a journal, and they are your innermost private thoughts, and you write them in a journal, they're not exempt from getting subpoenaed, I suppose. I don't know where this journal came from, but man, whoo, did it reveal some things that we probably should have known about in the beginning anyway. See, it's kind of sad, though, that this individual, Fauci, this individual couldn't just come out and say the truth. He couldn't just come out and say the truth. I mean, we're talking about a man who is supposed to have been a professional and supposed to have been honest with the American people. And it turns out that, well, he didn't do that. So his nickname of Fraud Chi, is very apropos for him. Very much so. And we'll get into that here in just a minute. Plus, the Democrats are, well, they have some money problems and some other problems as well. And also, I have some comments, if I can get to them by the time the hour is up. I have some comments on violence that has occurred over the weekend worldwide. All right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. Tonight is, of course, my lovely better half for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with my beautiful Mrs. Whiskey as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank her every single day for choosing me. But I thank her, in this case, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. I have 25 of these. And I'd like 26 by the end of 2026. So somebody who has not done theirs yet, please do it. And send it in. And if you use your phone, make sure that you utilize the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. To be able to send it off to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. .online, and I will get you into the rotation as quickly as possible. All right. Tonight's headline sponsor is none other than theflagshirt.com. I'm wearing one of their performance shirts. You can see it's very brightly colored. It says USA on it. Great. Great, great, great. Wonderful thing. You can go and check out all of their options, whether it's men's, women's, kids, made in the USA. They have patriotic accessories, patriotic golf gear for your guy in your life, or even the gal. You know, women like to play golf too. And if you don't know what to get, you can also purchase gift cards and send those off too. If you spend $75 or more of their product, you will receive free shipping on your order. Go and check it out. Go to theflagshirt.com. Check out all of their patriotic bundles, summer bestsellers, etc., etc. It's a veteran-owned, veteran-run company based out of Florida. They got some really good stuff. You got to go and check it out. theflagshirt.com. Get yourself patriotized. Alrighty. Well, let's start with the Democratic National Committee. I mean, let's face it, they're already in trouble. They've been in trouble with a very aggressive competitor whom they embraced not too long ago that is now threatening to devour them. And, well, let's face it, putting forth Cackles the Clown, Kamala Harris, put them into debt. And, well, let's say that may not have been the exact best decision in the world. Well, realistically, I mean, they never should have gotten Biden. I'm still trying to figure out how the man got 81 million votes, most ever in history, reportedly, at the time. And still can't get any donors to fund his presidential library. In fact, it's in danger of not even becoming true. He may be the only president that doesn't have one. Yeah. Anyway. The Democrat National Committee is apparently having some serious challenges. Well, first of all, according to a New York Times report, the Democratic National Committee can't pay its bills. And they have actually asked vendors to stop billing them. Stop billing them. What? Huh? Yeah, I would love to be able to call up my bill collectors and go, hey, you know what? Yeah, I can't pay the mortgage this month, so stop sending me the bill. I know it's there, but stop sending it to me. Yeah. Or my credit card. Or anything else. Anything else that goes along with it. Apparently, they put up their headquarters as collateral for a $15 million line of credit last year. Now, that by itself, honestly, is enough to kind of give you a little bit of pause, because they're digging into a line of credit. Here we are coming into the midterms, 2026 midterms. And anyway, they are reportedly $2 million in the hole already. So, interesting. Well, then what's even worse for the Democrats is the fact that their chairperson, Chairman Martin, has apparently become very unhinged, scared, freaked out, and apparently he physically threw a phone at one of his junior aides' desk while reprimanding him, which got a formal HR complaint. I don't know how are they going to deal with this? Seriously. All you have to do in order to offend any one of these idiots is to just, like, misgender them or, call them something mean, because remember, according to the Democrat leftist idiots, words are violence. Yeah, whatever. They're freaking out. Apparently, Martin has become very scared of his losing his position. He must not have a backup plan. Yeah, he must not have a backup plan. He's also apparently been closing down his secret, or his inner circle. He's only, like, confiding in specific people, which is what you do when you're threatened by potentially losing your career and your job and your career or whatever. Anyway, apparently he met with HR about the throwing of the phone. The DNC has declined to comment, and Martin himself declined an interview request with regards to it. Now, the counts on that phone violence differ in terms of how he threw it, but everybody agrees that it did hit the desk, not the aide. And maybe he just doesn't play baseball very well, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody remembers during COVID, Anthony Fauci got to throw out the first pitch at a Major League Baseball game and totally flubbed it. He threw it, and it went way far to the left, bounced before it even made the plate. I mean, we're talking like it was a good 25, 30 feet away from the catcher to the left of the screen, if you look at it. Search it up, seriously. Man couldn't throw a ball that hit the side of a barn. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So, yeah, Democrats have a huge money gap in terms of Republican versus the Republicans, I should say. Donald Trump controls a $400 million super PAC right now. The Republican National Committee reported $128.5 million in cash on hand, and the DNC itself is $2 million in debt, and that was in the July report. Now, reportedly, even before they filed that report, the DNC transferred $1 million out of its 2028 convention fund to prop up its main accounts. So, yeah, apparently the DNC has paid more than $700,000 in interest on that $15 million line of credit, averaging over $75,000 per month. Starting in January, it owes $1.66 million in principal payments every single month. Yeah. The DNC has funneled money to its House and Senate campaign arms every single cycle for more than a decade. But officials have privately told congressional leaders that it's not going to happen for 2026. Yeah. Yep. They just don't have any cash to give. None. They got nothing left. The coffers are empty, baby. And they're having all kinds of problems with that. Well, yeah. Another part of their issues has been the Democrat Socialists of America, or Democratic Socialists. I don't care. They're the socialists, okay? The socialist wing of the Democrat Party. And, well, the socialists have decided to throw off the mask. They are telling you exactly who they are, which everybody should take note of this. Everybody should take note of this. So the Democratic Socialists of America national co-chair by the name of Megan Romer, well, she was on Fox News on yesterday, and, well, let's just say she decided to not lie at all about the entire thing. Take a listen in her own words, what they are looking to do.
So we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they are who they say they are. They are literally socialists, because in order to be a socialist, government controls the means of production. Period. That's what it boils down to. Folks, these people are making it. They're getting voted in. They're getting voted in. There are people who are believing that this path is the way forward. They want to destroy the Constitution. Now, of course, they didn't even get to that part, but they want to get rid of the Constitution. They want to get rid of the Declaration of Independence. They don't even want any things on this. Yeah. They don't want anything American at all. They're confirming all of this. This is their agenda. And if you think that they're not going to do it, and trust me, the Democrat Party as a whole, there is no moderate Democrat anymore. Okay? There's no moderate Democrats. There's no moderate anything. There's no hey, I'm an American, but I'm a Democrat. No. If you're a Democrat today, you are literally anti-American. Period. Full stop. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I can't. Oh my gosh. I can't even imagine, man. I really can't. This is what the founders wanted to avoid. Is this, even though socialism wasn't even thought back then. I mean, this is crazy. This is nuts. People called it out on X. They were saying, this isn't even a platform. It's a plan to shred the Constitution and dismantle the United States of America. Yep. You know that, I can't think of his name. Oh, he's famous. He's very famous in the I think late 70s, early 80s, where he was a defector from the Soviet Union. Dan Bongino refers to him all the time. But he literally said the idea for the Soviet Union was to subvert the Americans from the inside using the useful idiots. And that's what we have. Is the useful idiots who are sitting here saying, yeah, we need to do all this. Yeah. And you know what's really funny about this is they're sitting here and complaining about capitalism. They're complaining about having all this, having the rich, tax the rich, all that other stuff. And what are they doing? They're holding a $2,000 phone on the internet, wearing $1,500 shoes, in houses that may or may not be paid for by the government, but definitely paid for in terms of construction by the capitalist system. And everything that they are talking about is part of the capitalist system, and they're using all of those capitalist items to rip on capitalism and try and tear it down. They have no clue. These people are stupid. These people are incredibly stupid. I saw a graphic. I'm sorry I didn't grab it, but I saw a graphic that was saying that roughly 50% of Americans today, when asked, believe that socialism is the way forward. That's 50% of complete, utter, stupid morons. Just going to say it. That's 50% of Americans who are complete, utter, stupid morons. They want to destroy America. They think that if they can destroy America, that all things in the world will become much better. They're stupid. They don't seem to understand how much evil and horrible stuff is being held back by the mere existence of America. Yet these people are, they're definitely, they're definitely taking over in the Democrat Party. Democrat Party of today is not the Democrat Party of old at all. All right. So let's shift gears here. Rand Paul, who has, on this one subject, this one thing I can say that I actually have agreed with Rand Paul, and that is to go after Anthony Fauci for the crap that he put out during COVID. Now, keep in mind, it wasn't just under Trump. It was also under Biden that he was doing all of this crap. I mean, let's just walk down the whole thing. Let's start with, well, you got to mask up. No, you can't mask up. You don't need to mask up, then you do need to mask up. There's 6 feet of distance. Shut down everything. You got to shut it all down because, the death rate is, amazing and so high, and so many millions of people are going to die and all this other stuff. Well, that's what he said in public. But what he actually said in private, oh yeah, I forgot, wear 2 masks. Don't go visit your elderly, parents and stuff as they're dying in the hospitals or whatever. Yeah. Don't forget, get the shot. The shot will prevent transmission. Can't forget that one. Another one. Oh, yeah. Hey, don't forget, the COVID virus was naturally occurring and came from a wet market. A bat. It jumped from bats to humans. Yeah, don't forget that one. Anyway, apparently his own diary shows us a different story. For an example, in terms of the wet market idea, which I don't know why he even put it out there. Seriously, I have no idea why. Because everything, and I talked about it on this show, everything pointed to a gain of function lab created virus. Once they got the genome and they broke it down to display the CGG genome combination, which, by the way, for those that don't know, has never been found in the wild, in nature. That combination has never been found in the wild. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It potentially could. But so far as all of our genome typing has gone, they have never actually seen the CGG genome combination, except when people are pushing and creating something in a lab. Because that CGG combination is very commonly used in labs for gain of function research. Now, part of his diary has basically talked about a call on February 1 of 2020. It talks about a conference call that he had with several high-level scientists who were divided over the possibility of what is known as deliberate insertion, meaning that the Wuhan lab workers actually intentionally added a protein spike, genetically engineering the COVID virus. Oh, what? CGG. Hello. Yeah. Some of the scientists who were on that call believed that deliberate insertion was not only possible, but also likely probable because Dr. Zhengli Shi of the University of Wuhan had worked for years on gain-of-function research in coronaviruses. In an effort to allow the adaptation of the spike protein to actually bind to the human ACE2 receptor. Fauci added in his own words, "We could not let this go." There were 12 scientists on the line, according to his diary. 10 of the 12 believed this was created. Only two thought the virus was natural. What did he tell the American public and every other public? I mean, let's face it. Once he got up there and said, "This is what we see," yeah. What did he tell everybody? Oh, no. The lab leak, never happened. Never happened. Now, what's scary is the fact that we still do not know definitively that this is what happened. Okay. However, that being said, it was pretty obvious that and when you strip away everything else as possible, this is the only thing that logically makes sense. But it goes even further than this. A day before that conference call, scientists started reporting concerns that the spike protein could not have occurred naturally, since it would require an evolutionary jump that they found nowhere in bat isolates, according to his diary. He says they bring up the possibility that this could have been deliberately inserted and either accidentally released or deliberately released by a crazy person in the lab. And he noted that the former, accidental release, being the most likely. Now, here's what he says. He also wrote, "Now we know the market was not the source. It was the amplifier." So he knew. The whole time that he was standing in front of everybody in public saying, no, this wasn't created by the lab. It wasn't created by the lab at all. That quote, by the way, him knowing the market was not the source, that it was the amplifier, that was in January of 2020. The wet market was already off the table, and he kept it up in the public sphere. Yeah. months after that particular conference call. Months. Fauci completely wrote off concerns of it being a deliberate engineered virus in May of 2020 in an interview with National Geographic, calling the lab leak claims circular arguments. And that Fauci Fauci basically said, hey, the virus is totally consistent with an animal to human jump. Yeah. Not really. Now, what's interesting is that Fauci is supposed to testify this Wednesday, or it says next Wednesday. Let's see what the date is. Yeah, this was yesterday. So he's supposed to testify on Wednesday in front of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee after being subpoenaed. And he's going to face Senator Paul. Now, this goes even further, though. This goes even further. Because remember how he was saying this was a very deadly virus and this is why we have to, sequester ourselves, shut the entire country down. You can't let kids go to school. None of that stuff. Do you remember when he said all of that? Remember when he said all of that? And he said that, oh, yeah, this is, COVID's got a, 2% to 3% fatality rate. Well, apparently that's not what he thought in his diary. Nope. Apparently he was on a February 8th, 2020 journal entry that shows Fauci recounting, in other words, writing down from memory, a phone call with former CDC Director Tom Frieden, in which he compared this new coronavirus to basically a bad influenza and actually predicted a lower than expected fatality rate. He says, and this is in his journal, he says, quote, Tom Frieden called me this AM and we discussed various aspects of the outbreak. He and I are on the same page thinking that this is acting like a bad influenza in its transmissibility and that the denominator is much greater than the 34,867 above, making the case fatality rate more like 0.2 to 0.3% rather than 2.0%, he wrote. Yeah. Now, about a month later, the physician, meaning Fauci, presented Congress with a markedly different assessment of the disease. Testifying under oath at a March 11th hearing, Fauci responded to a question from Representative Michael Cloud from Texas about the similarities between COVID-19 and influenza. He goes, the seasonal flu that we deal with every year has a mortality of 0.1%. The stated mortality overall of this, when you look at all the data, including China, is about 3%. It first started off as 2 and is now 3, he tells the panel. He says, I think if you count all the cases of minimally symptomatic or asymptomatic infection, that probably brings the mortality rate down to somewhere around 1%, means that it's 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. Because I think that is something that people can get their arms around and understand. However, privately, he was saying, no, it's only 1 time greater than the flu. Yeah. And by the way, during that same hearing, Cloud questioned Fauci about whether or not COVID-19 was more lethal than the previous diseases, including H1N1, which was the swine flu. Fauci goes, no, absolutely not. Because the 2009 pandemic of H1N1 was even less lethal than the regular seasonal flu. He goes, I'm trying to help the American people know where to appropriately set their gauge. Fauci doubled down on the alarm bells, despite privately downplaying the virus's lethality. Wow. He literally said the flu has a mortality rate of around 0.1%. This has a mortality rate of 10 times that. And that's the reason why I want to emphasize that we have to stay ahead of the game in preventing this. Yep. So he lied again. He lied. Well, one thing that I think caught him up, just like it does anybody who gets it in their head, but they're like, I've become a really big deal. One thing that's present in the journal is the fact that Dr. Fauci had a bizarre fixation on his newfound fame. Meaning that the more he could be in front of the camera, the better off he was. And he was going around in all of these articles and all of these publications and everything else, and he was apparently clipping a lot of the articles and like sticking them in the journal and holding on to them. And he was obsessing over this. He made an entry dated April 7th of 2020, and he was like, oh, the press is still hot and heavy about me. Multiple stories per day, directly or indirectly involving me. As he was talking about the media coverage around the White House coronavirus task force. Is it possible that maybe he pushed the numbers and made the fear-mongering so that he could gain more media attention? That he could keep that spotlight on himself? Is that possible? Maybe. Because in May 21st of 2020, he wrote in his journal, national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. Adding that it was not hyperbole to describe his celebrity in terms of global recognition. Now, at this point, nearly 98,000 Americans had died of COVID. Questionable. Because we don't know. The fact is, we honestly do not know who actually died of COVID. Because we know that many died with COVID, but not necessarily because of COVID. And how many deaths were listed as a cause of death being COVID when it was actually a car accident or something along those lines, motorcycle accident. And just because the body tested positively for COVID, which I'm telling you, to me, right here, right now, this is a coronavirus. Can it tell the difference between the regular cold, the flu, and COVID-19? Can any of these home tests do that? And don't forget, too, that we gained a lot of those directly from China. We have no idea what their, what do you call it? Their accuracy rate was. We have no idea. Anyway. Apparently in the journal, in late 2020 of June, in late June of 2020. Wow, did I flip that around? Anyway, in late June of 2020, the U.S. daily COVID cases reached a record 40,000 in a single day. Dr. Fauci decided to write in his journal that he was asked to appear on TV's Dancing with the Stars. Really? Really? So, also, he started writing about how he was beginning to outshine the president. And he reflected on his growing celebrity status by adding that Secret Service officers stationed at the White House gates would now routinely wave his vehicle through the security checkpoints without asking to inspect his identification, because they were so familiar with seeing him. Yeah. Dr. Fauci insisted that he had no desire to conflict with, embarrass, or show up the POTUS, but later decided to stop participating altogether in profile interviews. So, yeah. Gotta wonder how much more is there for us to find about all of this? How much more are we going to find with all of this? See, I'm telling you, I'm saying this right now, in terms of those tests, because everybody keeps talking about the tests. Oh, I tested positive. I tested negative. I don't know of any way to take a test and get a genotype within 30 minutes. There's just no way to get that. Even now, if you want to get your genotype from frickin' Ancestry.com, you got to rub your cheek, get the cells, send it in, and then maybe you'll get the response back within weeks. You would think that if they had the actual technology to be able to genotype something very, very specific in that amount of time, that they'd be able to genotype all other kinds of things. They can't. And that causes me to have a serious suspicion, which I did, because my wife, here's an example. My son had strep throat. He went into the urgent care with strep throat. They didn't even bother testing him for strep throat. They just tested him for COVID. He didn't have any other symptoms other than strep throat. And they tested him with one of the nasal swabs or whatever and said, oh, yeah, he's positive for COVID. Strep throat versus COVID. Well, as per usual, the mainstream media. That's right. We're talking about ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNOW are now ignoring these entries. They're ignoring the diary entries, especially the ones where he had a fixation on his fame. Now, we all know that fame can corrupt people. I mean, it happens more often than not. It's actually relatively rare. It's actually relatively rare for people to not get affected by fame. Because let's face it, it strokes your ego. It strokes your ego. But this guy, can I blame him for this? Yeah, actually I can, because he really should have. He really should have not focused on the fame. He should have been focused on How do I get the American people through this? How do I get the American people through this? Because that's my job. But the legacy media outlets, they're not even paying attention to the fact that he got, what do they call it? Red light fixation, I guess. Indicating the red light on the top of the camera. Television camera or whatever. Anyway. All of these people, all of the news outlets, ABC News, NBC News, CBS News, CNN, MS Now, they all have ignored the diary entries. According to this Fox News article, they've ignored them from the time that they were released on Saturday afternoon all the way through Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. According to a search of transcripts using a service called Active Media. Folks, we've been lied to. And if you think that this is just a part of it, I mean, this is just a small part. If you don't think that we have other things that have been going on in our government, unbeknownst to us, because the mainstream media has decided to abjectly ignore its original purpose of being the fourth wall to prevent government from being able to do exactly this, cover stuff up. Yeah. If today's media were the same media that happened under the Watergate scandal, and if that had been a Democrat president, if Nixon had been a Democrat, would they have covered it up? Would Woodward and Bernstein not covered? I think so. I think Woodward and Bernstein would have covered it up. There we go. Closed captioning. Finally got it right. Anyway. Folks, this and the Biden administration, you think Biden being cognitively impaired wasn't covered up? Oh my gosh. Absolutely it was. Totally. Anyway. All right, let's shift gears here. We had a few things that have happened over the weekend. Violence, of course, in Chicago. That's unfortunate, but it's nothing unusual, to be completely honest. However, one thing that happened over in Berlin. Yeah. And of course, the mainstream media, because it doesn't, shall we say, follow the narrative. Once again, the mainstream media is covering it up. So the New York Times wrote about the Berlin Pride attacker. Apparently there was a Berlin Pride event that was on Saturday. Now this guy, by the way, he is apparently, well, let me just say this. He is apparently was in jail already. He was in jail under another offense. And he was serving his sentence there. Well, the way the German law works is that if you are in jail and then you are able to successfully apply for an appeal, you get released from jail until your appeal. And so he was free from the jail because of this appeal of this earlier thing, okay? this earlier criminal offense. He's released from jail. But instead of, laying low and not doing anything and trying to, stay out of trouble, no, he decides to go and rent a van. And leftists, listen very carefully. He decides to ram his van into a pride event. Now, keep in mind, this is how stupid the left is. Seriously. They all believe that if they go to Palestine, they have a group called Queers for Palestine. They don't get it. The Islamists do not like homosexuals. They do not like LGBTQ plus minus divided by sign, ampersand, angle, bracket, whatever people. They don't like that. And they will kill you just as much as look at you. Hell, Turkey turned around a freaking cruise ship that was an LGBTQ cruise ship. It was an LGBTQ cruise. Anyway, this guy decides to rent a van, go and mow down people in a park where this event is happening. Then he decides to get out of the car, of the vehicle, and start assaulting festival goers with what appears to have been a machete. Now, he killed one woman. He's injured at least 29 others at this point. And what does the New York Times do? The New York Times says, a car plowed through a park, killing at least one person, injuring more than a dozen others, city officials said on Saturday, the Times wrote. Okay? It's possible that they didn't know anything about this guy. They didn't know his background or anything else. But they blame the car, apparently. Just like they do with the guns. Oh, gun shoots, whatever. Yeah. Well, let's also move to Paris. In Paris, some people get stabbed on a Paris street. I can't remember right off the top of my head how many. The suspect was caught there, captured by police. He's laying on the ground. And he literally says, Allah made me do this. And yet, they still sit and wonder, apparently some of the mainstream media still sit and wonder what his motivation was. What? He told you what his motivation was. His God told him to start stabbing people. Yeah. Oh, and I'm being told by my unofficial producer there were 2 men who were stabbed. One Asian, apparently, and one Jewish individual. And apparently they were stabbed because they were showing signs that they were gay, I guess. Anyway. Well, there was also violence in New York City, too. And the guy, the perpetrator, reportedly yelled, Allahu Akbar. Oh, gee. But, hey, we can't find a reason for why this person did this. None whatsoever. Really? Really? And now we move to my city just south of me in Seattle. Now here's some of the headlines with regards to this. Family-friendly festival turns into horrific nightmare as gunmen open fire. Yeah. So, unfortunately, 3 people were killed, 4 more were wounded when at least 2 gunmen opened fire at the food festival beneath the Space Needle in Seattle yesterday. Shots rang out around 6 p.m. at the Bite of Seattle, which is the food festival, an annual free weekend-long event that typically attracts close to 350,000 people. When police arrived on the scene, the 2 people were seen shooting at each other, and officers immediately sought to chase down the suspects while other officers provided first aid to the wounded, according to the Seattle Police Department and ABC News. One of the suspects were found and taken into custody that evening, but police are reportedly still searching for the other suspect as of this morning. Now, they're sitting here saying that it remains unclear if the gunmen were only targeting each other or if they were purposely fired at, or if they purposely fired at other festival attendees. Notice that not one person, not one time, have they talked about the race of these individuals. And in fact, Seattle's mayor, that socialist Katie Wilson, opened the briefing to discuss gun violence and argued that the city and country have a lot of work to do to make the gun violence better. As the mayor lectured about, quote, gun violence, a reporter actually cut in and said, "Hey, I get your passion, Mayor, but we need to know what happened tonight." So, yeah. Apparently, the people that were killed, 2 of them were pronounced dead at the scene. 3rd person died later at the hospital. It was a 19-year-old man, a 44-year-old man, and a 56-year-old woman. A 2-year-old boy was among one of the 4 people wounded and is in stable condition in an area hospital as of last report. Here's the thing, folks. These people don't seem to understand. These people, like this socialist mayor, they keep blaming this on gun violence. It's gun violence. No. What it is you've allowed criminals, gang members, etc. That's what initial reports are showing, that these are potentially 2 gang members who actually went at each other at the Bite of Seattle. But rather than call that out and say, hey, this very well could be potentially gang violence, they didn't even bother with any of this. People, I'm telling you, we need to pay attention to things like this. This is just going to get worse before it gets better. It's just going to get worse before it gets better. I have a very simple plan, a 4-step plan that would allow us as Americans across the board to eliminate, almost virtually eliminate, all of this violence. It's really very simple. Step number 1, because we have a problem with soft targets, harden those targets. Now, while that's happening, step number 2 is incarcerate criminals. Forget this crap of, light slap on the wrist, send them off. No, put them in the frickin' jails. Get them off the streets. Third is reinstitutionalize the mentally ill. We got to stop this crap. And the 4th one, which the leftists all hate, is focus on faith, family, and community support, because just about every single criminal behavior and everything else can be traced back to a breakdown in the family unit, meaning mother, father, kids in the home, loving, together, so on and so forth. A simple recipe, 4 steps. All they need to do. Get rid of this. In terms of this gun violence, quote, gun violence. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Don't forget to try pilled.net, Pilled.net. Give it a shot. Pilled.net as an alternative to Rumble. Don't forget before you take off to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a thumb sideways, or maybe at an angle if you're Chevy, across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, Pilled.net, which a thumb up would be a red pill, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.